For today's indie game review, we turn to Ebenezer and the Invisible World. This is the perfect holiday-themed Metroidvania if you want some Christmas time fun with your double jumping. Our story pretty much is a direct sequel to the famous Christmas Carol, which I'm sure all the plot points here would be included by Charles Dickens himself. It seems that after the events of A Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge is a changed man, quite literally. He can now jump about 30 feet in the air, swing his cane like a master swordsman, and can summon stands to help him in combat. For Ebenezer's bizarre adventure, it seems like another industrialist is going down a dark road, and this time the spirits are in disarray as someone has thrown them in complete chaos. So it's up to Ebenezer and whatever spirits he can gather to go into the world, save Christmas, and find a lot of holiday ham and turkeys all over the place. Now, if you think comparing this to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as being a little far-reaching, I do want to let you know that one of the spirits you get is basically Gerardo. And if this game had the goal to have like Ebenezer do like a 10-page aura on an evil aristocrat, I would give it Game of the Year, no questions asked. But our gameplay here is your standard Metroidvania design. You'll explore London looking for clues, items, quests, and spirits to help in a variety of ways. Throughout the game, you'll get new weapons in form of like canes and swords that you can equip, as well as like trinkets or artifacts that provide passive benefits to you. Now, your main form of unlocking new stuff are the spirits. They come in two varieties, those that give you new movement tech and those that give you new combat tech. The movement tech ones are required in order to make progress in the game, and you're going to get your Metroidvania staples of dashing, double jumping, kind of a hover or slow descent jump, and more. Now, because Ebenezer himself is not doing the moves, it's the spirits that are helping him, there's like a little bit more of a weightiness to the different actions that felt good after a while. And like the movement all in all, like the kind of like platforming tech felt solid throughout this game. Now, if you're hoping for kind of Ori, Hollow Knight levels of super dodging, lots of obstacles and movement tech combinations, Ebenezer does not go that far. As for the spirits themselves, by completing the different side quests, you'll unlock them, and you can use them at any time during combat at the cost of your spirit gauge. That is the blue bar in the upper left. Every spirit has a different kind of functionality, from healing, shields, an upper attack, spread shot, direct damage, and more. And if you use a spirit enough times, you can kind of unlock like a stronger version of their attack. But all in all, that's not going to be like the main focal point here. With that said, you'll go through the game. Again, this is a Metroidvania structure, so while it is open world, you are going to have to go down a specific path to get the needed characters, needed unlocks, etc., etc. Combat is okay. This game has an issue where a lot of enemies like to just walk or run at you. And since you can't stagger kind of like middle to large class enemies, they can just walk right into you and do some damage. The smaller enemies can become very hard to see. They like to sometimes blend into like the foreground, or like a foreground object can kind of block them from seeing you. And this can get a little bit annoying. At the start, you don't have access to a lot of means of healing other than buying or finding lucky heal drops. There is a spirit that does provide healing as well as trinkets that can help you, but this is not a game where you're going to be leveling up. There's no experience. You can get health and spirit upgrades by finding items in the world, but all in all, this is a game that, again, like it goes down the checklist of every single thing that a Metroidvania game should have. And with that said, my main issues with this game are more on kind of like, I guess, the performance side or polish side of the Metroidvania design. So first off, this game features no voice acting, which is not normally a complaint I throw at a game on this channel, but there's a lot of cutscenes that are just kind of like still images and lots of text to read, and it would have been nice if there was like some kind of narrator or someone going over this, especially during the game's final cutscene that looked really amazing but also ended quite abruptly. The overall graphics of this game work really nice. There's some gorgeous backgrounds, especially in the outdoor environments. But it can be hard sometimes to keep track of enemy projectiles, and especially some of the enemies who like to warp around, and they can just like warp right into your hitbox and do damage. The difficulty of this one, in terms of the overall gameplay, I would say it's on the moderate side. Even with some of the bosses that feel a little bit like damage spongy, there are more than enough ways to kind of break this game, and once we got Time Stop, that was basically it. Now, an annoyance with the GUI is that the game does not mark on the map where quest givers or quest locations are. And this is a big deal, because a lot of the quests, again, specifically for the movement tech related spirits, are required. And if you forget where someone was or forget where you're trying to go, it can become a nightmare of backtracking, as the game does not have a lot of fast travel points, and the ones that do will still leave you with several minutes of running to where you need to go. And yes, this is a game where you will be revisiting previous areas with new powers to try and get everything in or to complete another quest. Other than that, we did run into a few bugs here and there, with sometimes like the game not responding. I think at one point I got stuck in a wall, but that only happened like very rarely. Ebenezer and the Invisible World is by no means going to be the greatest Metroidvania you're going to play either this year or for any other holiday that's out there, but it's one that has a lot of charm to it. I really enjoy the aesthetic, and it stuck the landing for the most part from beginning to end. So if you are in a festive mood and looking for a Metroidvania to go with it, then this one is a pretty solid game to check out. And I would like to thank the developer for submitting a press key for me to check it out. If you let me tackle your game for a future stream, video, whatever, it does not have to be holiday related, then be sure to reach out. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.